Hello everyone, welcome to the Conversations with the Real Estate Redhead. Today is a different sort of episode. I'm going to be telling y'all all about myself and kind of why real estate and what has led to this podcast today and, everything that, has really been, in the works to kind of get me here. So I'll just go ahead and I will jump right in. Basically, real estate has been something that I've always enjoyed, and I'm one of those people that can watch HGTV for literally all day. I can sit on the couch with my dogs and watch people buy houses all day long, tour houses all day long. I'm just one of those people. I could also watch the Food Network all day long and just watch people cook. That doesn't mean that I want to cook, but I can definitely watch people do things like that all day long. I don't know what it is about that kind of entertainment. It's just something that, I really enjoy. And so when it comes to, real estate, it's always been something that I've liked. I've liked it for as long as I can remember. I've had an interest in it for as long as I can remember. And so, my husband and I always knew that buying a house was, going to be a better financial move than trying to rent. And so whenever my husband and I were getting serious and thinking about, getting engaged and what our next steps look like, I was still in college and he had just started a new career at Time Warner Cable. And so, we weren't making a whole lot of money and we were still living with our parents and everything because we weren't married yet. And so, we were thinking about what our next step was and could we afford a house? What does that look like? And so I started doing a whole bunch of research. And I'm just kind of that person, I look into it myself to try and figure it out. And then I go and I ask the people in their field, like, hey, what can I do? And so that's basically what I did. I reached out to a realtor on Zillow that I found. Her name's Kristen Blanchard. And she had this precious little avatar as her photo of her kind of hanging out of a red convertible. And it was just really cute. And I'll never forget that. I actually reached out to her about a condo that was for sale for like $30,000. And of course, Zillow tells you on there, oh, this is only $200 a month. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I can totally afford this. Like, when can I buy it? I can totally afford $200 a month. This 500 square foot condo. I had no idea what I was doing, what I was looking at, anything like that. And, Kristen was great. She just listened to me. She let me talk, and she just kind of heard me out. And, she got me in touch with a good lender who could kind of answer my questions. And, at the time we were, Aaron, my husband, we were just, boyfriend, girlfriend, we were serious, but we weren't engaged. And, it's kind of funny that I'm recording this at this time right now because that was actually like 6 years ago this week that actually happened. It was 6 years ago, almost to the day that we were in that process. And it's pretty amazing to kind of see how things have evolved since then and, my desires and my wants and, how everything has kind of just come to fruition. And so that was in 2015 that I started talking with her. And obviously I know that was the fall of 2015 that I started talking with her. And then it was like, okay, well, what actually can we afford? Well, what does the bank say that we can afford? And what the bank says you can afford, you will learn is not always the best choice to go with that highest number. So we tried figuring out what that looked like for us. Did we want to buy a condo? Did we want to buy a single family home? How far away from town did we want to be? And, we're not engaged yet. What does that look like? Okay, Aaron, you need to propose. Are you going to propose? When are you going to lock this in? And so, it was a lot of things. My family was asking a lot of questions. My mom was like, you really need to be praying about this. You really need to decide, what in the world is going on? You're still in college. And so, obviously I had high aspirations for myself and for our marriage and for our future. And it's kind of cool to think back on that because it's not something that you think about a lot. So anyways, fast forward a few weeks, we did some tours, we got pre-qualified and we found this amazing home and we absolutely loved it. And it's funny now that I think back on it and now that I'm a realtor and I'm in this industry, Kristen, our budget was 120, I think our pre-approval was around 130,000 or something. I don't even remember what it was, something like that. And in our area, finding a house that's that price is very difficult. And she just treated us like no different than a $500,000 client or a much larger affluent client. She just treated us as well as she would treat anyone. And it just really means a lot to me now that I think back on it, and I'm working with buyers and I'm working with sellers and I'm in this industry and I know how much work goes into it. Obviously you're going to treat everybody the same, but it's just really cool that she actually did, and she's just amazing. I just love her to bits, and I'm so thankful for her. And it's just really cool, like I said, to think back on those times. But not only that, we were a hard closing. So I did a lot of research, obviously, and this area that I found was a 0 down payment area. It was a USDA loan. And so it was rural enough. What a USDA loan is you have to be in like an area that's rural enough so that that you can qualify for it, and different things have to be met. Well, our closing, we went under contract in, I think October, I don't remember what day in October, some day in October, and we didn't close until like January 15th. It was insane. It was a very long closing, got pushed back constantly. We thought we were going to close and then we didn't, and then we thought we were going to close and then we didn't, and it was a very hard process. We thought about pulling out several times. We even went to go look at a different property and debated moving our contract to a different property. It was a lot, and Kristen just held our hand through it all and really helped us and guided us, and it was an amazing process. And to be able to become a homeowner was truly extremely rewarding. And to this day, I'm very thankful for that process and all that I learned and how she helped me. And throughout that process that her and I went through, she was like, hey, you could really, be successful at this. What would you think about being my assistant? I really need some help and you would be great. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would love that. Get my feet wet in real estate and kind of learn a little bit more about it. And so that's what I did. I did that for a few months, and then I didn't tell my work that I was working at the time that I was doing that. And I was young. I think I was 21. I didn't know I needed to do that. And they found out, and they're like, you can't do both of these things. Like, you have to come work for us. You can't be doing that on the side. And I was getting ready to graduate college, and, I knew that I had a future there at that company. And so I was like, okay, well, I know that that's wise. I had to tell Kristen I could no longer, be her assistant. And, I continued to work in insurance, and that's where a lot of my background is. That's where, I worked at GSM Insurers in Rockport, basically my whole life since high school, for about 10 years. And I absolutely loved it. And, they're like family, and I truly value all of the experience and everything that I learned there. And it wasn't until, recently that we had decided that, as I was thinking about my future and about my career, and, I wanted a little bit more flexibility in my schedule, with having kids in the future and thinking about, what I wanted my future to look like. My husband works remotely, and he will probably always work remotely. And so having the ability to kind of come and go and do as I please is very, sounded very nice. And especially thinking about, adding to our family in the future, it was, now that I think about it now and I'm in this industry, I'm like, why did I think that I would be more flexible with children? I'm so busy. It's like, how did I think that was ever possible? And I know that I'll get to the point where my schedule is a little more manageable, but right now it's a little cray-cray, but that's okay. And I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. But it's been a great journey so far. And it's kind of crazy. So speaking of Kristen, as soon as I started thinking about wanting to do this, I called Kristen. And she actually moved to Louisiana back in 2017, and that's like where she's from. And so she lived in Rockport for several years, and then she moved back to Louisiana with her husband's job. And so she's obviously not in our market anymore, but I called her and I was like, girl, I'm thinking about doing real estate. Am I crazy? Like, can I do it? What do you think? And she was like, no, you would be amazing. You should totally do it. Totally think about it, pray about it, decide if it's going to be a good fit for you and for your family. And so, of course, I got excited and I really started doing some research. And she was telling me that she was thinking about doing an expansion team from Louisiana to Texas to tap back into her market and all of her clients that she still has here in Texas. And I was like, wow, this would be a perfect opportunity. And so now her and I are on a team together. Her expansion team has come to fruition. And so she operates out of Louisiana, but she still has a Texas license. And so her and I work together. I help her with Texas, and we're called the Kristen Blanchard and Team. And so we help in Louisiana and Texas, and it's been an amazing journey. I literally do not know what I would do if I didn't have her. She's like my coach. She's like my mentor. She tells me all the things I need to do, and she's seriously the best. And so, as far as this journey goes, that kind of is a good summary. It's been very hard, but it's been very rewarding, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And I'm very excited for what's to come, and with this podcast and all of the goals that I have going forward. I just hope to, my goal with this podcast is to reach people that wouldn't necessarily tune into something like this. So that way, if they're kind of like me and they're debating buying a house, or they're like, what is homeowners insurance? You mean I've got to get an inspection before I buy a house? Like, how am I supposed to know that this house is structurally sound and everything like that? It's the goal for this podcast is to just educate people and to help them understand what goes into buying a house and how attainable it actually is, because I feel like a lot of people believe that buying a house is a pipe dream, and that their market is unaffordable, or that their credit is terrible, or this or that, whatever the case, that it's never going to be something that they can achieve. And it's my goal to help spread the word that that's completely not true, and that homeownership is available for everybody. It might take some work, it might take some time, but it's completely doable. And I can tell you, if my husband and I can do it, with me being in school, him making $15 an hour, and we can, if we can do it, anybody can do it. And so it's definitely something that's, that's important for me to share. And it's cool because when you start and you buy your first house, your wants and your desires and your dreams for your future, definitely play a huge role in that. And then as time evolves, I won't get into it too much, but real estate is something that just because you can buy a house now, and then it's definitely something that will grow in value over time. You pay down the balance, and as you pay down the balance, the equity just will continue to grow. And that was our experience when we bought and sold our first house. We only owned it for a year because we moved out of town, and we made like $8,000 after we had to pay all of our closing costs. And so that's a really good return on investment. And you don't always see that, but for a year of owning a home and being able to walk away with cash is really great. And so it's just things like that, really play a role in it as well. And so I'm just excited to share my story with y'all, to continue to grow and to continue to learn and share with you guys all that's going on in our life. And I just appreciate y'all tuning in, and I hope that y'all guys will stick around for the rest and really have some solid takeaways. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to be awesome.